Hello and a happy new year, ODA. Everybody in the ODA, it's Michelle Carville here. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Michelle Carville. I am one part of the partnership at the Online Digital Academy with the lovely Sarah Kerrigan. And Sarah, congratulations to the lovely Sarah, because she has now had her wonderful baby, beautiful baby, Anthony. And so I'm going to be holding the live show here on the ODA, doing the lunchtime lives for the next few weeks. And we're going to be running for the next few weeks a personal brand series. So the first one today, kicking off, is getting ready for 2021, and your first impression is likely to be a digital one. So what is it that you are saying on your digital platforms? So I've put together some slides here, and we're just going to work through them. So if I can figure out how we move, there we go. Next slide. Here we go. So as I said, your first impression is indeed a digital one. And even more so now that we find ourselves in these extraordinary times where, excuse me, I'm just moving that hair out of my eyes, extraordinary times where, we are locked down. We are here in our offices, in our homes, in our kitchens, in our spare rooms, wherever that may be. Our children may be locked down with us as well. So big, well done to everybody who's coping with all the different challenges that we are now faced with. However, our digital impression is likely to be the first impression that people do. So even if you're going to be meeting a new colleague, meeting with a new client, having a meeting, it's likely that you are going to Google them, check them out, look at their LinkedIn profile before you even meet them. And even if we weren't in lockdown, that's a kind of practice that we all do. So your first impression, whether in lockdown or out of lockdown, is likely to be a digital one. And so my question to you is, what do your digital outposts, your social media sites, your blog, if you're blogging, your website, if you've got a website, your internal what do we call them, like portals and intranets, if you've got profiles out and about there, and I've just, congratulations to myself, showing up is not showing off, as we're going to talk about. I've just been remarkably and very delightedly put forward as one of the top 100 female entrepreneurs in small business Britain. And that's just wonderful. And I didn't really know that much about it at all. And so it's a great accolade. It's great to achieve. But of course, now I want to add it to all of my digital profiles. And when you're going through that process, it's amazing just how many profiles that you do accumulate over the years. And so whether it's your online profile on your website, your LinkedIn profiles, your social profiles, those other portal profiles, I've got profiles on speaker profiles, on consultant profiles, on other things where I'm promoted as the speaker. I'm a course director on certain trainers. So all of the profiles then need to be updated. So my question to you then is, when was the last time that you actually updated your presence? When have you audited what's out there about you online? And when was the last time that you actually made a concerted effort to think, okay, it's the beginning of the year, I better check out, or things have changed, my role has changed, or I've published some new articles, or I've created some new material. Things may have changed. And of course, when was the last time that you audited what's out there online about you? And a really simple way to do that, it's a little bit crude, but it's still simple, is to Google yourself, to literally Google your name and the organization that you work for. Just see what you can find that's out there. Check out your LinkedIn profile. When was the last time you updated your LinkedIn profile? When was the last time you checked your Twitter bio, your Instagram bio? I know you get much less space in those brand space, to promote yourselves and give your personal story in those spaces. But what do your digital online presences look like? And when was the last time that you audited them and updated them? So what's out there? Do a quick little Google about what's out there and have a quick audit as to an update as to what's out there. Is it as you want it to be? And it may be that it is, but it may be that it isn't. So, when was the last time you updated things? And is your digital presence on purpose? What does it currently look like? So, to do that, you may need to Google yourself, go out there, search, see what's going on. Does what is out there align with your values, your purpose? I've got a new book coming out in January around sustainable marketing and how to drive profits with purpose. And whilst my previous books have been largely around digital education and helping organizations and people to get social or promote their brands online, the essence of what you're promoting, the kind of how you're promoting is one thing, but what you're promoting and who you are is important. And, now my focus is, it's always been around sustainable. I've always been passionate about the planet and various aspects like that. But of course, now my values need to be aligned more with that purpose. And I'm bringing that more to the front. So, is what matters to you actually aligned with what is out there about you? And if it isn't, what elements are missing? And just generally getting that overview and that understanding of, are you happy with what's out there? And of course, this is just as relevant for you as your own personal brand as it is for an organization and an organizational brand. When was the last time you did audits around what is out there? When was the last time you updated your web pages, the About Us pages? We can get very lazy just because it's not our core work and our core purpose with the collateral that is out there. So make sure with your digital presence that there is a bit of an audit, that you are happy that your digital presence is on purpose, it is aligned, it is up to date, is it up to speed, and that all the specific places of where that could be your digital presence, your digital footprint treads, check that is all aligned and up to speed as well. For example, I've got a book website, I've got the main Carvel Creative website, we've got the ODA website, I'm a social, I have a social enterprise that I founded. So there's that's got a profile about. So there's all these different areas that potentially have a footprint, and you need to ensure that everything is updated, aligned, and again on purpose with what you want it to be. So it's a little bit of a health check, really, a little bit of a housekeeping as to what you want to do. And of course, sometimes we are a little bit guarded, a little bit modest around what it is that we do, who we are, what we share. And sometimes we're our own best kept secret, those superpowers, those strengths that we have, our whys, our remarkable abilities are often, we keep a lid on things, particularly as females. We tend to do that more so. And so a key message really about that is, as I said at the beginning of this live, showing up, putting yourself out there and showing up and sharing what it is you do, what it is you've achieved, how you do that, the impact that you make, the transformation from one thing to another, talking about yourself, getting others to talk about yourself, sharing testimonials, case studies, good news stories, positive things that people have said to you. is not showing off. It is showing up and building your online presence. There's a big difference, from somebody just constantly saying, I'm great, I'm this, I'm great, to actually facts. If it's fact, if you've achieved something, if you've shifted something, if you've transformed something, if you've been awarded something, that's not you bigging it up. That is you sharing the facts. So, if it's fact, if it's a reality, that's not you making something up and saying, hey, look at me, this is great. These are things that you should be looking at, and accolades and praise that you should be proud to share. So keep that in mind. Showing up is not showing off. But as I said, we're often not great at understanding, for ourselves, being the best people to support our own employer, our own personal brand. So there's a few kind of exercises here that I'm sharing with you, because we like to keep these things practical, things that you can do that, and you don't have to choose all of these. You can just select the ones that you feel very comfortable with, but they're all kind of geared to helping you to get clearer with who you are and what you want to be known for and what you want to be seen as. Because once you nail that essence, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I want to be known for, this is what I want to be seen as, then it helps you to really align everything that you do, your content, your messaging, who you partner with, and whether this is for organizational or personal brand, it's still the same, it's still the same. But these exercises may be slightly different than if we were doing an organizational brand. So this is about personal brand, this series. So I'm going to stick to the theme. So let's imagine that I am going to be introducing you on stage, and the audience in that stage is your perfect audience. They are the people that you want to be speaking to, but they don't really know that much about you. They don't know that much about you, and they don't really know why it is that they should stop, listen to what it is you've got to say, and so you've really got to compel them. So you only get a very short introduction. You don't want the compare droning on for even minutes about who this person is that is going to be coming onto stage, because what they want is you on stage and listening to what it is that you're going to be sharing. So one exercise that is really a simple task to do is to write your speaker's intro. If I was introducing you on stage, what would be that kind of one paragraph that you would hand to me and say, Michelle, this is how I would like you to introduce me on stage to this audience, please? And so it's got to be quite succinct. It's got to kind of, get into the heart of who you are, what it is that you, a little bit about your experience, a little bit of exciting insight as to what it is that you are doing. So any credibility, any creds, any accolades, any awards, anything like that you want right up at the front, and the difference that you make, So really play around with this. Have a look at how to write a great speaker introduction. Google it. There's lots of different advice as to what to do, but really work on nailing that paragraph so that it becomes something that you are so proud of, so comfortable of, and you're not kind of like in the side thinking, oh God, I wish I'd spent a bit more time putting this together, because that really doesn't say who I am. Make it really align, so that you are proud to hand this over and you are proud for it to say, and then test it around with a few people. What do you think of this? This is my speaker intro. If I was introducing myself to a stage, and this is what I said, what do you think of it? What impact does that have? And people say, oh yeah, but you missed this bit. Or, do you really need to mention that? So, test it out, get comfortable with it. It's an exercise that you can work on. I encourage you to iterate it at least 10 times till you get it to a place that you are really, really comfortable with. And when you do, then you can ask yourself, oh, that's interesting. This is who I do. My digital profiles echo that. Is this what I am saying out into the whole of the digital world, because that is our world. Business is digital. People will be looking at your and just in the same way as when we meet somebody in the flesh, those first 3 seconds are kind of like, oh my goodness, we're making up these decisions as to whether or not we like this person, whether or not we trust this person, whether or not we want to do business with these people, whether we're going to stick around and listen to these people. In just the same way as we do that physically, we are doing that also digitally. We are building those digital impressions. So what impression is it that you want? So think about, that's one exercise you can do. I've given us a few here. So another, and this is a really simple exercise and really powerful, actually. I've done this probably about 3 times in my life, and it's interesting. It's almost like when you feel you're at, I mean, the first time I did it because a coach, it was part of a coaching program that I was on, being coached by a coach as part of a group coaching program, and in a team that I was working with, and this was one of the exercises. Ask others what they think about you. Often we don't, as I said, we are often our best kept secret, and we're not great at showcasing and pulling out and noticing just how remarkable we are. It's very rare we give ourselves that pat on the back or say, yeah, go girl, you're great. Often we're uncomfortable with that, and that whole showing up, showing off definitely is ingrained from being small, to a lot of people, like, don't be a show off. No one likes a show off. Well, actually, when you're running your own business and you are leading a brand and championing your own personal brand, people need to know who you are. People need to know what you stand for, because, otherwise they don't assume, don't expect them to go off and do their research about you. You've just got to say it as it is. So ask others what they think about you. Email. You can do this via email. You can speak to them face to face. But, the way I've done it over the years is emailed people, selected people, and I've selected a random selected group of people. So it might be a couple of colleagues that I work with. It might be a client. I might be asking a client what they think. A client I've been working with for a while, so we're kind of friendly, but it's not like buddies, but there's a respected relationship there. Your family, maybe your partner, maybe your children, whoever that is, they're often very honest with you. And then maybe some vague acquaintances, somebody that you might occasionally bump into when we can go out, that you might do as part of a hobby, that you might bump into. They might be part of a running group, part of a choir, just vague acquaintances that them, but they don't know you, you're not close friends. And so get a mixture of people and email them and ask them, and there are a range of questions you can ask. These are questions that, you don't want to ask them too much, because you don't want to turn it into an arduous task for them. But if they were describing you, what 3 words would they best use to describe you? And that's, they then have to come up with the 3 things, like, straight talking, proactive, tenacious, whatever those types of words come up for them. You might think about your own words, and it's quite good to do this exercise yourself and then see what other people say, and see sometimes whether there's a match, or just sometimes how much distance there is between what you think and how others see you. So what 3 words would they best use to describe you? And if they were reading an article about you, which publication would it be likely to be in, and what would the article be talking about? So, I remember doing this, and somebody came back, and, it was the CEO of the organization I was working with at the time. And he said, oh, you're going to be in some kind of, it's going to be a lifestyle magazine, like, I can't think of a lifestyle magazine, but you're going to be in it's a famous lifestyle magazine, and you're going to be talking about health and well-being. Now, I was the marketing director for this organization, writing books around digital and social technologies. But because he knew that I had this passion for health, and I was passionate about preventative healthcare and well-being, and all nutrition and those aspects, and yoga, for him, that was the publication that I was going to be in. Others said, "Oh, you're going to be in Business Insider talking about the future of digital and So it was interesting how different people see you, but it's really good to get a rounded view, and not just your internal view of what others think about you. So if they were reading an article about you, which publication would it be in, and what would the article be about? What would it be talking about? And then how would they sum you up in one sentence? Now, for some people, that's going to be easy. For some people, that's going to be more challenging. But, just ask the question and just keep an open mind and just see what comes back. So there's another exercise, asking others what they think. And again, you can get that feedback back, and it's good to get that feedback. It's good to see that whether or not there are some hidden gems there, some clues that may be like, oh my goodness, I'm not even talking about some of those things, and yet they are inherently who I am and what I do, and I just haven't seen that. So sometimes this external view looking in at you can actually see a lot more than you can see. So don't be brave and ask. And it's an interesting thing to do. Ask people to be honest. Just say to them why you're doing this, and just see what comes back. And then another query, another exercise that you can do is to ask yourself about your pains and your passions. If you could change one thing in the world because it pains you, or you're passionate about it, what would it be? What would it be? And I always ask this question at the end of my podcasts when I'm doing the Connected Leader podcast. And I throw in these 3 questions. And the first question, pretty big question, if you could just change one thing in the world, what would it be? And if you think about it, normally I'm talking about digital, about business, digital business. And yet, and that's kind of, what the Connected Leader podcast has been all about, uncovering what leaders have been doing in that space and how they're using those. And what comes out of these conversations, when I ask this question, this really draws me close to the individual, because now they open up and you really see, well, this is really who this person is. Now the facade is gone, and we're not just talking about what they know about. Now we're talking about them, what they value, who they are, why things matter to them. And again, this is something that you may want to align with your personal brand. If it aligns with the value that you deliver day to day, then it's interesting to analyze whether or not you are being authentic with your personal brand and actually aligning some of those views and values and pains and passions into your branding. So, is it something that you're talking about? So again, when we think about what goes into brand building, and you as the personal brand, or, leading an organizational brand, is this something that aligns with the value that you deliver? And are you talking about it? And if you're not, do you need to be, or is it okay? So, there's no, these are just open for you to be thinking about. So that's that. And then, last but definitely not least, nailing it all down into this 60-second elevator pitch. We've all talked about, we've all heard about the elevator pitch. You get into a lift or elevator, depending where you are in the world, and somebody asks you, so who are you? Tell me about yourself. And in 60 seconds before the, top floor to the bottom floor, and you're getting out of that lift and leaving, you have said what it is that you do. And becoming succinct with what it is that you say and what you do is great when you're at networking events, because we all kind of get into that blustering, fumbling, well, I do kind of lots of things, it's really getting clear about what it is that you do, what you say, and honing it, refining it, and then seeing whether or not, again, I encourage at least 10 iterations to really nail that down. So if you're doing the speaker intro, your 60 seconds are going to come really quickly. If you've done that exercise, then you're going to be able to unpick that and just get to the 60 seconds. And then time yourself, literally go onto your phone, hit voice memo, hit down and time yourself saying it, go through it, get comfortable with your elevator pitch, your brand pitch, and then ensure that that is part of your headlines, your bios, the profiles online, your web pages. You've got all the good stuff right up front and center. I often, a friend of mine, even recently, he's just come out of commerce. He's gone into starting up his new business. Can you have a look at my LinkedIn profile? And very often, LinkedIn profiles, people traditionally just use them like CVs, and it will talk about all the incredible roles and all the incredible experience. But really, you've got to bring up into that first two sentences, that first headline sentence of your summary and the headline about who you are, because those are the things that are visible. Your bios are the visible things. Who is this person? They're going to check you out really quickly. And if they're interested, then they'll read more and go on and go and dig into the detail. But you want to wow people right up front with your headlines. So get clear on how you position yourself. Look at what others do in your sector and see how they position themselves, and see, do a little bit of a kind of mini SWOT analysis on yourself to say, well, what am I good at? What are the opportunities here? What am I better at than that? Or what are they talking about? And that I could be talking about better, or whatever. So do your research, have a look at what others do, have a look at some great LinkedIn profiles. And when I say that, people say, oh, give me some recommendations of good LinkedIn profiles. Well, look at people who teach how to train. So you maybe look at LinkedIn trainers and see what their profiles are saying, and how well they have positioned themselves, and make your own call as to how that works for you. But also be thinking about, what aligns, when you are looking at somebody's profile, your own behavior, and think about what you look for and what you enjoy and what triggers you to become interested or impressed. And think about ensuring that you've got those elements in your own profile. So, as I said, you can run this mini SWOT analysis on yourself. So your strengths, what are you good at? And, I would say focus more on the strengths. What challenges you and your weaknesses? SWOT analysis is strengths, weakness, opportunity, threats. I think, there's a lot of body of research that says don't focus on your weaknesses. Focus on what you're good at. Focus on what you're good at, not what you're not good at. If you're not good in business at accounts, well, okay, that's something from a business perspective to outsource and, get somebody to do your accounts. If you're not good at timekeeping, well, that might be something that you want to develop so that you improve client relationships or whatever. But weaknesses about you personally, know them, but don't really talk about them as part of your brand messaging. You want to focus at what you are good at, the shifts that you make, the opportunities that you create. So, look at that. But when you're doing your analysis as to what is out there, then this is where you could do that comparatively, so, I'm not so good at that. I'm not so strong at that. The opportunities that I see around us. And is there something that, the threats, is there something that could change for the worse? That's more about the business. But when it comes to your personal brand, I would say focus more on what you're good at, but be aware of these other things, and really think about, the opportunities that you see around you is things like, well, who else could I be sharing? What is it I'm not talking about that others are? I can see that others are using testimonials, case studies, quotes from happy. I'm not doing that, so I need to up my game to really live and breathe the brand, to showcase what it is that I'm doing. I'm not going live. I'm not putting myself out there. I'm not, I've not got my profile pics on, I'm not invested in some photography or some imagery or some styling. I'm missing out on the continuation of my brand. So there's lots of opportunities that you can then see about. So I would say focus on the strengths, focus on the opportunities, know your challenges, know the threats that are out there from a business perspective. But really, when you're talking about your personal brand, your strengths, your opportunities is really where I would say focus, attention. Okay, and so when you nail all of that, your golden thread, as I often refer to it, the kind of fabric, the essence that runs throughout you. Once you get clear on that, once you get a real true understanding of what you want to be known for, what you want to be seen as, and sometimes you have to sit with it. You just have to get quiet and you have to ask yourself those questions. What is it I want to be known as? What is it I want to be seen as? I think sometimes there's a huge amount of expectation that just because you've got experience in one thing, that is where you feel that you need to focus your attention moving forward, especially if you're moving into a new venture, which many people are doing in these circumstances. And so when you're thinking about your personal brand, don't necessarily learn from the past, grow from the past, but don't get locked into the past. You have this ability to be looking broader and really being true to the essence of who you are. And once you nail that essence of who you are, that means that you will meet your people and the people that want to do business with you. It will allow you to connect with them effectively, to really help you to understand the type of content that you want to share. And then that makes your showing up online and you being who you are so much simpler and so much more consistent, because if it's easier to do, you'll be more consistent with it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope some of those exercises in this first of the series of our personal brand is something that you have enjoyed. Consistency, visibility, and connectivity creates that influence. And, if you want to influence online, if you want to create the right first impression, if you want to draw people into you so they want to get to know you, like you, and trust you, then, of course, you have to drive that influence. It doesn't just happen. And, of course, that influence is now so much more driven online than it is standing in front of a room, talking to hundreds of people, because in these circumstances, there are certain activities that have been reduced purely to online. So just, recapping, going back and checking that you have got all of your ducks in a row, that you've done your auditing, that you're clear on your message, that you are happy with what is out there. And if you are unclear and you're not sure, you're thinking about, my brand may need a refresh, or I'm not sure it's true or authentic, or it doesn't feel right, or, I feel like I need a shake up, then do some of those simple exercises. Think about your values, think about what matters to you, and see whether or not there is that alignment with the beating heart of your business. Is often you, whether you're driving your own agenda or indeed an agenda for an organization that you are leading, and therefore there has to be that alignment. So finding that and then making sure you are displaying that really does make everything so much more simple and seamless. So that's enough from me. We've had our 30 minutes in our lunchtime live. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've seen some eyeballs there. If anybody has any questions, any comments, there are some resources that I'll probably put into the ODA blog around some of these examples. And of course, this will be here for you to run through these exercises as well. And there's an awful lot of information out there on Google as well to help you with some of those exercises that I've kind of teased in here. So, but the key is really to be thinking about making sure that you know that your digital footprint is clear and that you own it and that you're comfortable with it. So that's it. That's all from me for now. I've been Michelle Carville from the ODA. I will be back next Thursday for our lunchtime live. And next week, we will be talking about values and pillars. So thinking about your brand values. We've touched on some of those here today, and we've shared some examples of those values. Next week, we're going to dive deeper into values and pillars, and that consistency with sharing that out. So we will be talking about some values exercises next week. So I hope that is useful, and I look forward to speaking to you all next week. Take care and have a great week.